Okay. Um, I'm gonna have to make this into different parts because obviously it's so long and there's some crucial things that I just don't want to skip. So this will be a part 3. And so let's get on with it. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen again and I'm gonna pick up from the last point. Okay. Now, obviously, for me, I get very passionate about it, and the Caribbean side of me will come out. I'm born in the UK, but I'm very much Caribbean, and so that part of me will come out as I look at this because I haven't really looked at it as in depth and connected all the pieces in the way that I'm doing it now for a while, and particularly because obviously it's 20 years later. And so we're talking about 2 decades of my life, which has been stolen, and family members' lives that have been removed, deleted, taken, and so many people, so many. I couldn't tell you what the death toll is. It's huge at this point. It's huge. If you consider all the false flags that have been done and all the collateral damage, all the people, and all the times I've had to escape death plots, it's been humongous. And so when I look at this stuff, I just wanna, it's putrid. It's vile, it's putrid. It's just so unnecessary that people will go this far. Just to get money, people will go this far. Anyway, what you're looking at here is, now let me just do a little bit of context for you before I explain what this is. When I issued the claim in 2004, on the 5th of August 2004, I issued the claim in the high courts, the Chancery Division, and basically there was a judge which I showed you, and I'll show you him again so that you can know who we're talking about. Justice Blackburn went to lengths to remove the case. Now, as I told you, the case was supposed to be heard in July 2005, and everybody knows what took place in July of 2005. Now, whilst the atrocities were being committed, I had to go into hiding because obviously they were trying to remove all of this evidence. They were trying to shut me up. So I remained in hiding for 3 months. In that time, my GP, who knew what was going on, he saw the damage that it was doing. He had insight into how these people operate because he had a daughter whose work, I believe, was plagiarized as well, and she went through hell. So when I showed up, it wasn't news to him. He knew exactly how these people operate. I mean, historically, they have been this way. I think the UK have a kind of privileged idea and an entitled idea that they can take what they want from whoever they want. I mean, for goodness sake, they've got artifacts of every other nation in their museums, which have been stolen, and they refuse to give these things back. So it's a culture of entitlement. It's a culture of narcissism. It's a culture that is very sadistic, and you're going to start to see that as I start to share information with you. But anyway, what you're seeing in front of you is what should have taken place. The case should have been heard once it was listed in the High Courts at the Royal Courts of Justice, which is in the Strand, central London. What should have happened is that I should have gone to court. This evidence would have been presented. and they had the opportunity to settle the case, but they didn't want to do any of that. They didn't want to turn up. They didn't want to settle. They just wanted to brutalize. And that's the culture of the British. They're bullies, and they're proud of it. You know, that's how they've gone in. I mean, how many countries around the world speak English? And how do you think they started to speak English in those countries? By violence, by way of domestic terrorism. And that's something that they do naturally. They are bullies. And because they're bullies, they have an attitude which is basically, we do what we want to whoever we want, whether you want it or not. We've decided you are our slave. You will produce work to make us rich, and we will give you nothing. And we will terrorize you around the clock and kill people you love. And you won't say a thing about it. That is the culture. But obviously, that's their culture. That's not my culture. I don't take people's bullshit. I don't care who you think you are. I'm not going to sit and allow you, in the same way you wouldn't, none of these people will accept that kind of behavior coming from me or anyone. Even when they're in the wrong, they expect to be treated like lords and ladies and sirs and kings or whatever. But these are nothing of the sort. They're parasites. These people are what is wrong with society. They are the meddling menaces behind the scenes that are destroying the world for everyone with all these little games, sadistic games. And it is a very sadistic culture. If you look at the Tower of London and you go to places like the Tower of London or London dungeons, you know, they glorify that. If you go to the City of London and you go to Holborn and places like the Strand, you'll see gargoyles on the buildings, demons, literally demons. On official buildings, they've got demons. That says a lot about the culture, but that's what the culture is. And that's what anybody who gets robbed by these people is up against. Because if you don't have consequences for your actions, you don't really have the ability to take inventory on what you've done to people. You don't have the capacity to stand back and think, whoa, hold on a minute. This is not that cool. They don't have the capacity because in their mind, they do what they want to whoever they want. They believe in bully tactics, terror tactics. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who they kill. And usually when they engineer to kill, they do it in the most gruesome ways. They want to burn people alive like they did in Grenfell Tower. That's the culture. And that's something that every single person watching this has a responsibility to speak up and say, this is wrong. I mean, it's no surprise. The article that came out in the Sun newspaper only a few weeks ago now about Meghan Markle and wanting to, you know, parade her in the streets while people throw excrement at her. That's the culture. That's why nobody wants to apologize. Nobody wants to do anything about it. Excuse me. Apparently, that particular article against Meghan Markle had more complaints than any other time in history. That was the most complained about by every single culture, because there are some things that, you know, you put culture aside and it doesn't matter who you are. If you've got a soul and you've got a heart and you've got a brain and you read that kind of vulgar talk, naturally you would think, hold on a minute, this person needs to be called out. Now, there's a reason it wasn't called out. And the reason it wasn't called out, because that is the culture. That is the mindset. That is the belief system. That is the faith. That is the worship. That is their devotion. It's towards evil. The UK is the home of horror movies, Dracula and vampire movies. They all come from the UK. That is the culture. And so we're dealing with a satanic stronghold here. We're dealing with a stronghold that has been in the grip for a very long time. And to be able to wake any of these people up is going to take a public outcry. It's going to take, for this information to hit all of you, you all re-upload it and tweet it, and basically it has to go viral in order for them to start recognizing we actually have to change. We have to sit down and look at ourselves and recognize that our days of exploiting other people and conquering other people by violence is over. Somebody's asleep here, so I'm really sorry if you can hear snoring. I'm doing this really late at night, but it has to be done. And so I have to bypass that, I'm afraid. I am in a situation whereby I have people that are protecting me, and right now they've fallen asleep and I'm hearing the snoring big time, and probably you're hearing it too. So, okay, I will resume. I was kind of waiting for it to get a bit quiet, and it's quiet again. So, okay, so basically this is when I won. After my case had been removed before it even got heard, as soon as it was listed, there was a big scramble to quickly get me murdered, get all the people on the trains murdered, and to create confusion and remove all of this. And so what should have started in the Chancery Division didn't take place. When I got out of hiding, my case was nowhere. I couldn't find it anywhere. They were aware that I was in danger. And basically, we had to sound the alarm pretty much like I'm doing right now, because I'm currently in danger. They're currently trying to kill me as I speak, which is why I'm kind of letting some things fly. In other situations, I would have had quality control, but my circumstances are that I have to just go with whatever is, a, you know, whatever is doable, I would say. And so the important thing is to get the information out. Now, what actually transpired was when we tried to find the case, Justice Blackburn, and I will show you a picture of Justice Blackburn. Actually, maybe I'll pull that up right now. Just bear with me, I'll pull it up and then pull this back up again, just so that you get some context. Okay, so this is Justice Blackburn, who became a sir because of removing my case, no doubt, and not following the law as he should be. Basically, he removes the case from the courts, and I have to go to the Court of Appeal in order to have my case relisted, which was eventually relisted before this judge, Sir Justice Chadwick. Now, he was a very good judge. He was actually a very good judge. And it was between him and this man here that actually ruled in my favor. So the court order that I'm going to show you was when the hearing took place between Lord Justice Chadwick and Sir Peter Gibson. So I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, so this is, you will see Lord Justice Chadwick and Sir Peter Gibson, and it's the 22nd of May, 2006. So basically, just over a month after oh, actually, no, it's just trying to remember what was taking place before, because there was another hearing that took place in February before Lord Justice Chadwick. Now, one of the things that in the first hearing, we had to flag up that our court documents had been removed, court staff were being paid or bribed to remove our documents and not submit them before judges, being blocked from being able to file any papers. It was basically skullduggery like you can't believe. And so we had evidence that we were being blocked from being able to file papers. It's basically, the UK is like the 1700s as far as racism is concerned. You know, it's deeply racist. That's why Meghan Markle has been treated the way she's been treated. Whether you like Meghan Markle or not, the UK is a racist place, and this is a woman who has become targeted for very obvious reasons. Anyway, so because of the skullduggery, we had to have two hearings, and the first hearing was to discover the skullduggery that's removed my case unlawfully, because under the Article 6 of the Human Rights Act, I have the right to a fair trial. And to deny that is to deny my rights as a human being or divine being, whatever you choose to call me. I mean, obviously the labels can be very loaded. But anyway, so we go before these two judges and they rule in my favor. Interestingly enough, the document is marked 666. It's faded now, but you can basically see it there, 666. And you'll see my case reference number, HC04 CO2565. And these are the other reference numbers, just so that anybody wants to do any investigation into this. So it's A3. When you go into the Court of Appeal, their references are different. So one is A3 2005 2301. And I think there's two of them. 2301, yeah, it's basically the same thing. A3 / 2005. Is that? Yeah, 2301. And, you know, the good thing about the Court of Appeal is that there's managers that will oversee your documents and make sure that everything's in order. But obviously, when you've got corrupt staff members, they do give access to the criminals to go into your files and remove certain documents that are damning. And actually, all of it was damning. Every single shred of evidence that I produced was damning, which is why they didn't show up. So you will see basically that the judge overturned it is ordered the claimant's applications for permission to appeal and the extension of time be granted. The application to rely on further evidence be granted, and the appeal be allowed, and that order of Mr. Blackburn was set aside. There's another page. Basically, he set aside this man's decision. Because actually, when he removed my case, he didn't even make an order. He just did it without any following any procedure. He just got rid of it because obviously they were informed that I was going to be killed and I wasn't going to be around anyway. So nobody would be none the wiser. So when I returned back to court, there was no paperwork, there was no traces of my case. And so we had to get him to do an order to explain why did he remove the case. He didn't have an answer because he knew what he did was completely unlawful and illegal. He knew that. And so I don't know if there's other page of this here. No. The other, so it's basically a 2-page document, and the first part of it is showing. But anyway, so basically I won. And every single hearing that I had, as you will also hear in the courtroom audios, I won. And that completely infuriated the culprits. Because remember, many of them are lawyers. So I come along and expose their incompetence. I expose their corruption. And I expose that they are abusing positions of power and abusing clients in their law firms. And I won. That didn't go down well. And so from that time onwards, you can imagine the level of brutality that came afterwards. So I'm going to stop sharing this and move on to the next document. Okay. So this, what you're seeing in front of you here, this is, it gives you the chronology of police reports. The first report was on the 5th of December 2003 at Paddington Green Police Station. And then it shows you how many police reports, harassment, then the harassment gets worse, then it goes to break-ins of my flat. And basically, one of the police officers that was supposed to be, dealing with this, evidently was one of their fixers. And he actually made a nasty telephone call. His name was D.S. Stallard. And he basically told me that nothing would be investigated. He basically was, this will not be investigated. Really, really violent and aggressive to me. And he slammed the phone down because when we realized that corruption was taking place in Paddington Green Police Station, which has since been shut down, we went to other police stations. And when he realized that we'd gone to other police stations and that other people were aware of, because obviously they wanted to keep this neat and tidy between their little clique of people, all feeding off me like parasites. And that wasn't the case. I wasn't gonna just allow that to happen. And it didn't go down well for him that I had gone to other police stations. And eventually the corruption basically was spread all around with people being, I mean, there's enough money to pay people off, to keep quiet, etc. And so if you look at this chronology, you'll start to see burglary, theft, and the theft of my medical records. It basically gets worse and worse and worse. Basically, fake bailiffs were brought in because that's one of the things they get people to pretend to be public service officers in one way, shape, or form, but in fact they're just actors. They get people to pretend to be road fixers, pretend to be workmen, pretend to be all kinds of positions in order to carry out their crimes. But you have to understand we're dealing with the entertainment industry, so they have a costume for everything. They're all actors. None of them are genuine. None of them have any integrity. And so this chronology shows you the progression before it starts to get very, very, very nasty and goes to the London bombings 2005. You'll see the chronology of the police reports. Not one of them were followed up. The police was supposed to take the case to the Crown Prosecution Service. And 20 years later, they still haven't done it. Not one of them has taken this evidence to the Crown Prosecution Service in order to get me restraining orders or members of the public restraining orders. They've done nothing to stop the criminals. They've just allowed it to go so bad. And we're told now that the corruption is so bad within the police that there was a report that something like thousands of police officers are not really police officers, is what I understood the report was saying. I mean, I've met some really good police officers, and even they were, you could see that they were mortified by what was being done to me. And they really wanted to help me. They really did. But obviously, from above, it was being shut down from at the highest levels because everybody's eating from my pie. And they put a whole operation to make sure that I be stripped of everything that I've ever had. Even outside of my work, I'm talking about my own personal possessions, even loved ones. They basically displayed their cruelty. These are cruel people. They're very, very cruel. They're very insipid. They don't have souls. Most of these people, they don't have souls. They don't have any conscience. They don't have the capacity to feel or empathize. They just think in terms of violence. It's like a yobbo kind of mentality in a way, posturing as being elite or something that is superior. I think the most, valuable people are people with souls, people that have hearts, people that have care and concern for other people. This is a kind of bully culture, as I've said before. And so this is what led to some of the events that I have flagged up here. These are all records, police records. And you'll see if you read all the police records, they go back to 2003. And you'll be mortified because 20 years later, they've done absolutely nothing, but only to find out that this is the culture that's being done to majority of people in the country. There is no police, really. It's only a facade. It's a facade. There is no police force. I think police officers will tell you that when it comes to certain crimes, they don't exist for people like me, which is why your attention with this situation and reporting on it as people power is what's going to make the difference. It's what's going to change this, because there's no authority that you can go to other than to the Most High, and those of us who are of the Most High to take this situation and make sure that they never, ever, 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 ever live to not hear about it. They've got to get to the point where they have to break the conspiracy of silence. It's a conspiracy of silence that is so disturbing. I can't even not tell you. So let's see if there's another document under here. No, I'm going to have to just pause it again and find you another document. Okay. All right. This is a document by the organization that calls itself Victim Support. Now, what you'll find is quite interesting about this document is the date 7/7, because even these people were in on it. Even these people, when I went to get support, they wrote me a letter and they deliberately put that date in order to just dig, poke the bear. That's what they're like. They basically abuse people and then laugh at the people they abuse. They torture people, then laugh at people they abuse. It's bizarre. It really is bizarre. I don't know if there's other cultures that are like that, but I don't know if it's unique to the UK. But this is the mentality. One of my relatives, whose mother it was, who passed away in Grenfell Tower, my aunt Marjorie Vital. It was my cousin Ernie and my cousin and my auntie Marjorie Vital. I was told by one of my relatives that the police informed them, because when Grenfell Tower happened, they mapped out a family tree. And the police told my family members, stay away from her. She's not all there. Stay away from her. Deliberately, because they didn't want my family to know that this was going on. How evil. How evil. They set to isolate me from my family so that they could literally torture me and terrorize me without my family realizing. Because obviously there's lots of people in my family that don't know anything about this. That, they weren't there, they haven't read these reports. They didn't know about it. Sometimes you can have cousins or whatever that you don't see. And obviously with a situation like that, I tend to stay away from people as much as possible, because it's so putrid. I just don't want them to have to deal with something like that. It's only because of the fact that they killed family members inside Grenfell Tower and many other people, as you know. It's definitely not 72 people. There was much more people living in that building. The people in the area think it's more likely to be about 400 people that were killed in there. And so this is the culture. And this is why it's important to do this for me. It's important to put it on the public record Obviously this document's already out there. It's been out there for a while now. However, I think now it will probably get the possible proper publicity that it was supposed to have got in the beginning, but nothing happens before its time. So this is a letter just to ask me to do a feedback. But really and truly, it wasn't about that. It was them wanting to send me this to rub it in. That's what it was about. We know what's going on and we know who you are and we know the whole thing. And that's what that's about. And that's something that they like to do to torture people. They have no empathy whatsoever. These are people that will laugh when your family dies. If your family member gets murdered, these are people that laugh. They laugh. They think it's hilarious. These are not people that are leaders, you know, and that's an important takeaway about this. These are not people that are leaders. A lot of people blindly think, well, these are the people in authority and these are the people that we have to listen to. You have to listen to people with wisdom with compassion, not people that don't have any capacity to know how to empathize with other people. These are people that are only good at torturing people. They're not good at doing the opposite. And they don't get it. When you don't want to be abused by them, they don't get it. They actually feel insulted. That's the kind of mentality that we're dealing with. So I will just pause for a second and okay. So I'm going to show you we did a freedom of information request because of the court hearings to get the police records. And what we found was like large patches were put over the documents. So there was officers in the police station that was covering how much the case was worth, covering up. They basically, anything that was exposing of this criminal operation, they covered up. You can see it for yourself. Covered up. The whole document was actually fabricated and doctored, which was evidence in itself. You know, if you doctor court documents, official documents, that helps the court to see that there's a cover-up. I mean, how much more do you need? So, I mean, I have 20 years worth of police records with this case in particular. I personally don't have a record myself. Outside of this, this is 20 years worth of what Tony Farrell described as the worst case of victimization he'd ever come across. And even though it's me, I'm a very calm, rational person. But even though it's me, I have to agree. I've seen a lot of really bad cases, notwithstanding children. I mean, obviously the abuse that's being done to children is off the charts. I don't even want to think about how wicked they're doing to children. If they can do it to children, they can do it to anyone. It just shows you that they have no compassion for anyone. These are monsters, trust me, these are monsters. So I'm just going to come out of here so that I can share with you I think this is quite important to show you. This is a report about Virgin NTL. It used to be called NTL before I came along now, just so that you have a bit of context. NTL had built massive broadcasting facilities after loaning money from Japanese investors. However, the plan to broadcast sports channel. Sorry, it's really late and I'm getting tired as I'm doing this, but I have to do it. I want to finish it. So yeah, so basically they had got money from Japanese investors and built these massive broadcasting facilities, but they lost the bid to Sky. And so they had built these facilities, owed Japanese investors money, and they didn't have any money, basically. So in walks me with a new concept to revolutionize the health and fitness within entertainment using dance, etc. And that became the most exciting thing that any of them had ever seen, because they were involved in illegally advertising and also advocating to steal people's intellectual property, hence what they've been doing to me for 20 years. And all of these are reports, times that they had been reported. And it follows onto the other page as well. I mean, this is evidence that you just can't just ignore. You know, these people have been flagged up for decades as being really, really, really criminal. A total criminal organization from start to finish. And the thing about it was that before I got there to the meeting, which was held on the 11th of November at Felton, when we arrived there, the whole place was empty. They had built these massive broadcasting facilities and the whole place was empty. Me and my friend Lisa, who was potentially going to be in the company, but obviously all the work got stolen and this whole thing started. I put the production team together and Lisa and I went down to the meeting. She witnessed all the signing of documents and things like that because she's a law graduate at the time. And when we arrived there, the Richard Hanna man gave us a false photograph of himself, pretending to be a Lord Mayor, pretending to be white as well, because Richard Hanna is not white, he's an African man. And he gives African people a very bad name. He's a total scumbag, total scumbag. And I remember at the time when I met that guy, he was telling me, I hope you're not going to be like the other woman. I had to get rid of her. So he had a past abusing women, this Richard Hanna. There's going to be a lot of women. When this starts to really properly come out, there's going to be a lot of bodies in the basements with these people, I'm telling you. Because these are truly sickos, right? Criminal sickos. When you give people like that money, wow, this is what you're seeing here is what happens when sick people get their hands on money and they get the ability to carry out their warped fantasy. And they think everybody has to go along with it. Do you know what I mean? But they're finished. If they don't know they're finished, they're gonna know they're finished. Their game is up. The jig is up. You can't go through life torturing, terrorizing, killing people, robbing people. This is before I met them. If you look at the dates here, this is way before I met them. I met them in 2000, in November of 2003. This is We're talking about January, February, March, April, May time. If it, I can't see it very well, I should put my glasses on actually to look at this. I can't find them right now, I'm sorry. But anyway, if you go through this list, 2002, they were on the record being reported year before. Before, I think they've got a long track record. This is 2001 they were reported. They've been reported long time. That's why by the time they scammed me and got all that money, they changed their name to Virgin Media because they didn't want to be associated with all the other crimes they had committed. Because when you start getting reported to these organizations, it means that you've been really rogue. They were rogue a long, long, long time before I came into the picture. The only difference is when I came into the picture, they had the ability to generate much more money than they had ever. And so basically, they had loaned all this money from Japanese investors to build those facilities. And they lost the bid because they wanted to promote all the news and, sorry, the sports program like boxing, World Cup, and that kind of thing. But they lost the bid to Sky. And so they had these facilities and they didn't know what to do with it. And basically, it was a situation where they heard about my documents and my concept to do health and fitness and turn it into like a new genre, and they ran with it. You know, they ran with it and they just chopped my work up to literally gazillions of shows, and the money was just pouring in, and the more money was pouring in, the more violent they became. There's actually, there's actually footage of them assaulting an elderly man, actually. This is like when my machines were being hacked. This was what came out of my machine. I actually done a run on my machine to see who was hacking, and this is what came out, Virgin and NTL. And this is the point where they've merged, because before it used to be NTL, broadband, telephone, and digital TV. But then they became Virgin Media instead of Virgin Net. Because remember, Helen Alexander stole from Ginger Productions. So what we're talking about is like a network of white collar criminals. And the 7-7, that's very key. 7-7, the mother of the sevens, the guy who died in 7-7, her phone was hacked, and that came out as well. And they were doing it because obviously they committed the crime. So they were hacking the victims' families' phones as well. So this is the card that Helen Alexander had given me. There, you can see that's where she used to work, head of factual broadcasting. And of course, she had the big case with Christopher, what's his name? Christopher Evans, Chris Evans, who originally had Virgin and Ginger Productions, and this woman took it off him. And then they used people like me to fund their crimes. So essentially, they built an organized crime network by the money that they stole from me. And I just got a word that they actually, they know it's coming because they're pretending that they're having to sell off their assets now because they know I'm coming for my money. They know I'm coming and they know everything's coming out. So they're trying to say, oh, I just saw a tweet about it a minute ago. And I responded, if I can find the tweet. Let me see if I can see the tweet. Something about Virgin are saying now that they don't have, they're lying because they've squandered all the money from the NHS. They've destroyed it. There's people sleeping out on the corridors. There's people dying in the corridors. I mean, what has happened to the NHS? because of them is horrific, and it needs to be spoken. All you nurses that are striking, you need to go after them as well. You know, everybody needs, they need to shut down these companies. They were trying to shut them down years ago before I came along. So actually it's not even news. But let me just come out of here so that I can, it's really late in the morning, but I'm determined to finish this because I actually recorded it before, and there was a bit of a problem, so I had to do it all again. It doesn't matter because I did it and it was like 4 hours, and I thought that's too long. So what I'm doing now is, because the editing program that I have isn't working, and I really want to get this stuff out for you guys. So what I'm doing is I'm recording it, and what I'm planning to do is just have it in part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And that way you can break it down and watch it. But it's so compelling that I think you'll probably want to watch it in one sitting. Okay, so now we're going to look at some photographic exhibits of some of the things that I have been subjected to. So it's starting to, now you're going to see some really twisted stuff, right? So this is the property I was living in. I lived there since basically 2001. And by 2003, I couldn't really, I lived there, but I was being terrorized as soon as these people found out where I lived. The scaffold that you see, it basically stayed there. At one point, they had the whole entire building encased in scaffolding, and it stayed there for 2 years with no works. Can you imagine all the windows? And this is how they carry out hits on people. They basically, it's like being imprisoned with scaffolding all around your building. And what they do is they send their henchmen, and I want to show you one of them henchmen on my window. So this is one of their henchmen. I was on the 3rd floor, and what they do, they get these criminal organizations that put up this scaffolding, and when you see it, like this one says AC, but there's no, I mean, you won't see it at this size, but you'll see that there's no number. There's nothing, there's no business address. What they do is they put up scaffolding to carry out a hit. They climb up, kill the person, and then basically they take down the scaffolding and nobody's the wiser. That's what they do. So this is the guy with the hoodie on to carry out probably a hit on me, but I caught him and took photographs. And I mean, this guy was coming up, these people were coming up the scaffolding, and they left it there. There was no work at all. This is when I really saw the rogue side, because what they do is they work alongside these housing associations like Genesis Housing, Westminster City Council, and they're literally killing people inside the houses. They're carrying out hits inside the houses. You know, one of my neighbors, I really think they took him out because he was a witness. I think they killed him in the flat below me. I really do. I mean, the death toll is massive, honestly. When this all comes out, properly comes out, where you properly see the scale of what these people have done. That's why Virgin right now, they know what's coming. They're selling off all their stock and they're trying to pretend they got money. We know they got money. We know they got money. This is at my front door. So basically weaponizing the water companies, poisoning people inside their house. These are guys. So I'm on my 3rd floor and I'm looking down from my bathroom window because I can hear the pipes going underneath the floorboards, and I'm like, what's that? So I open the window, and these are guys bent down who've made a barricade and they're digging at my front door. This is when I started to learn about this digging, going into pipes, rogue people. They've come pull up in a van, so there's no letter or nothing official. Nothing official. They make it up as they go along. And what they do, I'm going to try to make it as big as possible so that you can see it's men wearing those. So they dress up like they're legitimate workmen. But what they do, they're drilling at my front door to poison my water supply in order to try to kill me inside the house. And so this is the water coming out the tap. And I actually did it while it was running so that you could see what it was coming out like. This is what they're doing to people. They've weaponized every single public service that you can think of. You know, that's why you have to be, if you're targeted, you've got to be vigilant. You've got to be really vigilant, because these people will turn up and say they need to they need to check your gas meter, or they need to change your electrics, and they'll burn you alive inside their house. This is the kind of gruesomeness that we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. These are serious, serious mega crimes. These are hanging offenses for what these people have done. It's so treasonous, I can't even tell you. They know that. And that's why they try to kill victims, so that people are not able to talk. But the dead is gonna talk. So this is my front door, right? Now these are my locks. You could see somebody filed into my lock. Let me make it closer so you can see it really close. So you see there's a gap in my lock. What they did is they chiseled the lock. You could see them bashed up the door. Look at that. Bashed up the door. So I would go out and come back. And then the one time I came back and I found all my plug sockets had been removed. This is all pre the hacking scandal. Because in the hacking scandal, it also came out that they were burgling victims' houses as well. So a lot of the cases where there was one of the people they violated, they would burgle the house, take out the evidence. We're talking hardcore criminals, man. These are really, really scum criminal companies. Like, you can't believe. I mean, the lowest of the low. The lowest of the low. And the thing is, they've got enough money to do things properly. They just choose not to. They choose to be violent. They choose to be abusive. And there's no justification for it whatsoever. So here, this is, I managed to get somebody because I was exposing what they were doing to me at the time. This is like 2000 and 2009, 10, 11, around those sort of times. And because the report came out in 2013. And I met somebody that knew somebody was former military, and he said he would come and scan my property for bugs. And when you see this lit like that, it goes, it makes like a kind of sound, like a very loud kind of repetitive sound when it detects something. And when the lights go on like that, that's a positive reading that shows that the place has been bugged. We went to the police and we called the police and showed them the place had been bugged, and they did nothing. They did nothing when my cousin was murdered. They've done nothing. They literally just ignore us. That's why I now realize there is no police. That's why I'm saying, you brothers, where you at? It's up to the brothers and the people, the organizations. We need all of the organizations, all you journalists, people power journalists, all you truthers and freedom fighters. We need you on board at this time. All you star seeds, indigo, this is your purpose right here. This is the time of purpose. This is the moment. And it's funny, it's a 7 year this year, and my name is Seven. It's kind of funny. But anyway, um, I've had enough anyway. I really don't want to live like that anymore. I want to just do my own thing. I don't want to have to think about this stuff anymore. I want to heal from all the people that have been killed. I haven't really had the opportunity to heal. There's been a lot of deaths and I haven't. I've had to soldier on, it's like been living in a war zone. It has been for me. But anyway, so this stayed for 2 years. This stayed for maybe about between 4 and 6 months. This was the first one. This was the second one. And repeated burglaries, bugging, monitored. Oh, yeah, basically my phone. When I used to get my Wi-Fi up, it used to say MI5 surveillance van, and there's the van outside my house. There's the van. That's my front door there. And that van just permanently sat there. There used to be like sometimes like a fleet of vans. That's what they do. They always do it in excess, like loads of vans to try to really intimidate you. And then they'll follow you around everywhere you go. I don't want to live like that anymore. I've lived like that for 20 years. They've actually stolen all my awards. What should have been an amazing time in my life. They took it and they trashed it, man. But now I see everything that they've done. They just trash everything they get. It's like spoiled children. They get all that money and they've done all these crimes. And what for? For them to just trash everything. Everything is trashed. All the public services are destroyed by them. I mean, what was the point? What's the point? If you're going to do all that, they've done nothing good with the money whatsoever. Nothing. They've just gone around destroying people's lives. That's why I say not everybody's supposed to have money. If you don't have leadership skills, you shouldn't have money. You really shouldn't. So I'm speaking a little bit more quietly now because of the fact that it's so late. Anyway, let me come out of here and find just some more stuff. I've got a lot of more evidence. Wait a minute. Okay, now here we go. Check this out. And this is what I mean about weaponization of all the services. So now they're basically working alongside the council and they're fabricating bailiff's letters, like for non-existent bills, stuff that I don't know. And sorry, I'd have to take this down a bit because it's getting in the way. I want you to see the full document. So basically, look at this notice of prior committal to prison proceedings. This is made up. And this is how they do people so dirty. You don't owe nobody nothing. It's them that should be in prison. And basically, this is what they do. This is what they do. I'm in a safe house because of them. And they even come here. They go wherever they follow me and wherever I go. If I go out somewhere, they follow me by helicopter. But this is what they do. Look at this. Now you look at this letter. It's a made up letter saying that I owe, and they've just put any amount of money on it. And the thing is, they've stolen all this money, but they don't want me to be able to fight them. So this is why they want to make sure that I have nothing. So they'll invent these fictitious bills and say that they're going to put you to prison for nothing. This is how they set people up. You need to show this to the world. The world needs to see this because this affects everybody. Now, if you look on the bottom, the thing is they don't know about me. I keep all my records. I kept everything pristine. That's why the judge couldn't believe it. So when they came with their fictitious bills, I had a genuine answer for them. And I could prove that my council tax, I didn't owe nothing. Oops, 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 oops. Oh gosh, how do I get this back now? I have to go to make it smaller again. So I went to the council office and I showed them what these people were doing. And they said, they looked on the system. They said, you don't know anybody anything. Why they come into your house? I said, it's because they're stealing from me and they're trying to keep me quiet. And she said, oh my God, she said, because she put on the system that I didn't know anybody anything. The following day, she would take it off. The following day, it would be back on again. So people were doing it internally. Now, sometimes my name is spelled Jean Charles, sometimes it's spelled John Charles. That's very significant, and you'll see why in a minute. You'll see why in a minute. So that was the first sets of letters. Then they did more letters, and every time they came, I came with one which showed that I didn't know anything. So then they said prior notice removal of goods. They just make it up as they go along. What these people would do, these are hitmen. They send goons and henchmen to your house, and these people bang off your door like all day. They'll come all day long, 3, 4, 5 times, banging on your door, ringing on your bell, because it's designed to intimidate you. It's designed to terrorize you and keep you unstable 24/7. Now, this here shows that I didn't know anything. It says 000. But then you'll see they've made up all these bills. This is what they're doing. They're using the council services to scam people. That's another one where it says 000. I was trying to make it bigger so you could see it. And then you could see that I never actually owed anything. It will say 000 there. In fact, I was in credit. See, it's not very clear, but I'm trying to make sure that you see it. This is why when I came to court with all of it, they couldn't go to court because it exposed what they're doing. It says 000. Then the following one says 000, meaning I don't know anything. And yet they were writing these. This is what they're doing. They're making up these letters and going to people's houses, and they're sending hitmen to these people, to vulnerable women. This is violence. If you hear the way that these people talk, they talk like they're going to tear you apart. And you don't owe nobody nothing. They owe me. That's the thing. I never owed these people a penny. They actually owe me. And because they owe me, they're terrorizing me because they don't want to owe me. It's bizarre. It's very, very twisted, people. It's very twisted. These are people that, you know, they'll have to get some serious psychologists to sit with them and work out why they are the way they are. These people have had some strange upbringings. Now, this is an example, a bombardment of hoax demands. These are all the demands that they've hooked up. And this is not even 1% of what. This is just because if we had to have photocopied all of them, it would have taken at least 20 pages of what you're saying here. So look at this. These are all fake demands. I had stacks of them piling up, stacks of them. And they say all sorts of things, gonna 24 hours to remove your property. In the end, they've gone in my house and they've just taken everything. They've taken everything I ever had, my family stuff. I had stuff from my mother died. I had things that were sentimental. They've taken everything. They sent hitmen around there, but I'm going to show you. It's all right for me to talk about it, but it's better to show you the receipts, as people say these days, the evidence. So this is what they do, and you'll see the dates. And as the time goes on and it gets more and more, this starts to get more and more violent. You know, these are different runs. from the same day. As I told you, they could come. These are the same day. Look, the different ones. If you read it, it says something different. They could come all 3, 4, 5 times in one day with a different one, and they make them up as they go along. You know, they just want an excuse to come and harass you. And this has been going on for 20 years. That's why I made the video that I made, the previous one, the one 2 days ago or whatever, on the 9th of January or the 10th. So this is what I've lived with. Can you imagine all of these? Can you imagine, just imagine you're in your house doing your own thing, not bothering anybody. Next thing you know, you've got people banging off your door, banging it off, booting it off, ringing everybody in the building's doorbell to try to get in, to get at you. Can you imagine that? That's what I've lived. Morning, noon, and night. Nobody knows what I've been through, man. Nobody knows. So check this now. This is the council writing to me just before they shot him. Do you think it's a coincidence that a man with the same name as me, I don't use John Charles, I just was used to use Charles 7 and that was it. But do you think that it's a coincidence that a man who's got the exact same name as me gets shot underground while I'm in hiding? Because obviously I knew what was coming. I could see it. I knew if I moved out of there, they would have taken me out. They would have taken me out. This woman here, and she ended up being the head of the police, didn't she? She ordered it, or somebody made her order it, the people in the case, because it's a syndicate. So whoever is her superior in the syndicate gave her the orders to give the orders. That's why nothing ever got investigated. Nothing, because there's people on the inside that is protecting this madness. She used to be a young woman there, and when she came out of there, her hair was grey. That's the thing. So yeah, there's 2 people, friends of mine, that died on the same day. 2 friends. They didn't know each other. It's Malcolm, God, man. 17th of May. Howard and Malcolm. There's been a lot, people. There's been a lot. There's been a lot. So they just gone round, like, not necessarily to do with me. It's just to do with them. They just go around killing people. You know, I don't need to know them. It's just they just kill people. Let me just stop this for a minute. Okay. Now this particular one is interesting. This woman here, Sarah Mulvey, she worked for Channel 4 selling my work. She was appointed to sell my work, but it appears that along the line, because if you look at the spirit of her there and the spirit of her here, it's 2 different spirits. In that picture, she looks kind of cocky, and actually she looks quite evil, to tell you the truth. That's what I see. I see somebody that is devious. However, I think into the game, she probably couldn't hack it. She couldn't do any more. And she was killed. It's the likelihood, when Tony did an assessment as a former police officer, he said that the probability is that she was murdered. But they said that she committed suicide as they always did. They call it suicided now, isn't it? When they kill somebody, but they say that the person committed suicide. That's the term, suicided. In other words, she didn't do it. It's part of people that took her out because obviously she knew a lot. She knew a lot, and it looked like she didn't want to play the game anymore because she was dealing with vicious people. Tony put that she was murdered to silence her and has been successfully disguised up as a suicide. Probability assessment, he put that Sarah Mulvey did not commit suicide but was murdered. It's a heavy case. They've gone around killing a lot of people. It's no joke, people. It's no joke. I don't know what to tell people. It's no joke. Anyway, let me come out of here for a minute, and I wanted to show you something else. Okay, this particular exhibit is of Sophia Stewart. Now, the reason it's there, because while I was doing my case in the UK, she was doing her case in America for the Terminator and Matrix movie, which was stolen from her. So I was in the UK as a Black woman with a big case, an Indigenous woman with a big case, and she was in the US. And so there were a few times where we communicated at the time. I've since done like quite a few podcasts with her, and yeah, her story is if you don't know, you should check it out. They stole this woman's work, this sister's work. Like, you know, I would say that her work changed the world. The whole concept of the matrix has changed the dynamics of the world. It's a total paradigm shift. We made a total paradigm shift as conscious beings, shift of consciousness when she brought that script to life. And it was stolen by the Wisconsin brothers, who ended up changing their genders to conceal that that's what they do. They always do these perverse things when they've stolen and they've done something so really bad. They always try to cover it up or compensate for it in a bizarre way, like changing their sex or whatever. Helen Alexander gave herself two identities, then she killed one of the people off. I mean, this is a movie. This is an epic blockbuster movie. If anybody knows Tyra Perry, bring him my way, because I tell you what, I will write him one hell of a script. Nobody else could write it. There's nobody that could write it. It would have to be me because I know everything about this case. It would be one of the most successful movies ever. It would be riveting on all levels, you know. And Sophia Stewart's story should be made into a movie as well. But I don't think she got the violence that I got because UK is a lot more violent. It doesn't seem it, but the people in the UK, they just smile in your face, but really they are seething with hatred. They just look at you and they smile. It's a fake smile. That's what they do while they're plotting to kill you. That's the British people that are in those kind of hierarchical positions. That's how they operate. I need to wrap this up as quickly as possible now. So this is the day that I actually met Tony Farrell. I was a speaker. He was a speaker at the same event. And I think I spoke after him, but I didn't hear him speak because I came afterwards, but he heard me speak and he was shocked by what I was saying. And that's how he came to do this report. He said, "Can I see your evidence?" He said, "Wow, you're making some serious allegations there. You know, is any of this, do you have any evidence?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I've won a case." He goes, "You won a case?" And basically, that's how this particular part of my journey came to be. And this is outside the IPCC, which is the Independent Police Complaints Commission. I believe it's now IOC, something like that. But this is no longer, because it wasn't doing anything anyway. They weren't investigating anything. And basically, people are victims of crime have just been left for decades. You know, nobody calls us, nobody honors anything. And so at the time, I think this is the year 2012, when I met Tony Farrell. And yeah, it was highlighting that there is no police in this country. There hasn't been in the UK. A lot of people be surprised to hear that, but it's the truth. There hasn't been any police for people of color in particular, but any targeted person, because obviously targeted people are every color in the world. And, you know, but I think the most people being murdered are people of color. All people are targeted, but in terms of murdering and trying to enslave and all that, that's really directed as us as a people. Okay, so now check this one out. This is them basically making it clear that they are psychopaths, because they are. They're actually proud of the fact that they're psychopaths. They even put movies about themselves being psychopaths. Look, this is blatant. And if you look at the slogans, crazy killer fun, deliriously twisted, you know, explosive, you know, all words because they deal with domestic terror. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Now this is typical. And this car, Tony had got me onto a platform called UK Column. There's me, Tony and I, and he's interviewing me on UK Column. Now on the journey there by car, this car tailed us all the way there, and it says war. When they knew that I was going to go public, look at that, make it big. Basically, they have literally a fleet of cars where they put messages on and they drive past you. It will have my name, it will have things like they're going to kill me, they're going to drag me to hell, hell for seven, or all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff as well. But this is, so basically, my case was called Seven versus Gossage and Nine Others. So this is Nine Others. And they even did a character called Seven of Nine on some Star Trekky program. But here it says War, WAR, 7 of 9. And this tailed us all the way. I think towards the end, I think we got away from it. But this is what I mean in terms of the stalking. It's not just on foot, it's by car. I could be on foot even, but they would stalk me by car in this way. So I just want to make sure people see that, because a lot of people don't know. They will drive past you with cars at like 666, all sorts of messages, and I will show you. some more so that you, because some of you are living with this, but I think my targeting is extreme. I don't know anybody else that's had it as excessive as me. Everybody's target is awful, horrendous, but the levels that they go to with me, I've never heard anybody else it done that severe. So I hope you can see that, because I explain it to people and they make it, some people don't understand it. And unless they see it, when they see it, they're like blown away. They'll drive past with my 7 on it all days of the day and night, and it's a form of obsession. There's a fixation. I mean, I've had in one day as many as 200 people stalking me. I'm not famous. I'm just a normal person. My work is famous. I'm not famous. And some people, I mean, there's a lot of people that know about my case, but on the level where you would have 200 people stalking you, that's just absurd. That's just absurd, but it's the truth, people. So let me see if I can bring, without having to come out and go in again, I can show you some other stuff. This was a movie at the time. I think this was around the time we were doing this. He gave demented psychopaths a bad name. This is them joking about the fact that they're psychopaths. They know they're psychopaths. They know they're evil, but they think they're invincible because they're so evil that they think that they're just amazing. I mean, the level of megalomaniac and twistedness, I can't even begin to tell you. I can't. It's just shocking to me. Now, this one, now look at this. So you're going to see it starts getting more and more violent as time goes on. It starts getting worse and worse because the thing is, I don't fear them. And so they get more and more extreme. So, opposite where I lived, they had like in this window here, this is facing my flat. I'm on the 3rd floor, this is on the 3rd floor. And they put a whole operation in here with thermal cameras and microwave, whatever, from here into my flat, which is facing. And what they did when when they realized Tony Farrell was doing this report, obviously there's stuff in here that anybody was to see it, they would go straight to prison. So they just burnt the place down, just burnt it down. And then they put posters all by the house saying burn the floor from TV Strictly Come Dancing. That's to just let me know and everybody know it's them. Burn the floor. And this is put there while they're burning the floor. This is the level of extremeness that these people do. It is a level of evil that you will not be able to fathom. So this is them burning the floor. So this is my flat here. And the flat is across the place that they've burnt down, the hotel, where they were carrying out the surveillance on me is directly opposite. They had 120 firefighters. 120. All for me. 120 firefighters designed to intimidate me. And they burnt this place down across the road from me. It was on Channel 4 News. If you put in 120 firefighters, it should come up as a short video about it. But this is the level. I have to make it bigger because I don't think people really get it. I don't think you get it. This is what you call street theater. Like they said, they will create street theater. This is street theater. straight out of the book of James Manson, the same guy that I showed you. This is actually domestic terrorism. This is domestic terrorism on a person, a woman. This is violence on an extreme level against a woman because they've robbed me and they're abusing me, and they're abusing me because they're abusing me. Does that make sense to you? They're abusing me because they're abusing me, not because of anything I'm doing. Also because I want to get paid for my work. This is also slavery. If you have to do all that because somebody wants to be paid for their labor, that's slavery. I mean, I'd like to hear in the comments what you think it is. What is this? What is this? I mean, the whole street is taken, cornered off. Just like, this is 2013, I believe. And the other day, we're 2023, so 10 years later, it's still going on. And it gets more and more epic. Like, Grenfell Tower was epic, you know, in terms of gruesomeness. This is 4 years before Grenfell Tower. And as I said, it's just got progressively worse and worse and worse and more violent and more violent. And, you know, obviously I go from place to police or whatever, and nobody wants to do anything. How do you let this happen? This is not just happening to me. These people are doing it to our people. They're actually targeting melanated people, Black women, and they're killing them. You know, I've kept my wits about me, and I'm, you know, I know how these people operate. That's how I managed to escape these situations. But these are designed to kill, not just me. Even if I wasn't alive, they would be doing it worse. Because at least there's somebody that knows what's going on and warning people. These people need to be stopped. These people need to be stopped. That's my message. These people need to be stopped. Look what Tony put. Welcome to the world of 7. It's true. But it ends now. It ends now. Their little twisted game. They've made me the obsession, the object of obsession of this sick game. And I know they're doing it to a lot of other people because people have told me. These are sick people. The only difference with me is that I'm flagging it up. A lot of people are really afraid. They're really, and I understand, but at the end of the day, if you're alive and you see this, you have to speak about it. You can't just let these people go around killing people and doing this. You have to speak about it. And so that's the end of the Farrell report. And so what I want to do, I don't know how much time I've spent on this part, but I want to just show you the the updates, what has happened since then, leading up to last week and today. Today was another saga in the street. It's all street theatre. All street theatre, because they don't care about the people. They don't want to fix any roads. They don't want to do anything. They don't care. Do you think that they needed 125 fighters? Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. It was designed for effect. It's designed to terrorize, to really traumatize. They deal with targeting, terrorizing and traumatizing. That's their motto. You target the person You terrorize them and you traumatize them. It ends now, people. So I'm going to take you to, I'm wondering if I should do a part 4. This is part 3. Yeah, I'll start the other one on part 4, and then you'll see all the new things, all the new cars and stuff. So please like, share, subscribe, and make this viral. If you don't make it viral, you know, this is an opportunity to shut down a corrupt system that is long overdue to be shut down. All it needs is exposure. The exposure will do it overnight. Once this comes to the public's attention that they've been killing their own people and pretending that it was other people doing it, it's over for them. They won't be able to survive that, and they know it. So I'm going to sign off here, and then I'm going to do the last part of this particular series, which is basically, I haven't got a name yet, but I think I'm going to call it a scandal, something to do with scandal in the entertainment industry, because this is like an upgrade of Watergate, the 1960s scandal, Watergate, but this is even, this is worse. But yeah, something scandalous will be in the title, but you'll see it when we see it. So I'm going to switch it off here, and I'm going to do the last part, and it's going to be the end. Okay, it's getting late, and I'm getting very, very tired. You can tell my eyes are tired. Okay, so let me sign it off.